What's going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and today I'm going to be doing another custom LEGO minifigure showcase video. And for this video, I've got Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes in his War Machine Mark II suit, and of course, Tony Stark in his Mark 45, both from the third act of Avengers Age of Ultron. And these minifigures turned out great. I think these are some of my best Iron Man suits to date, to be completely honest. And I was going to have, I would have loved to have had War Machine in the original Avengers Age of Ultron showcase that I did at the end of April, but it didn't exactly work out because it wasn't until like a week before Age of Ultron hit theaters that I found out that Rhodey was going to be suiting up in the film. It wasn't until Marvel released a TV spot with him taking down some Ultron drones, and I was like, oh wow, great, thanks for the heads up, Marvel, because now I was going to have to make the figure sometime after Daredevil, which is what I did. And then I figured I'd pair the Mark 45 with War Machine because I really didn't want him to be alone in this showcase. I decided after a while, because I felt like it would have been really empty just having him alone, even though he did turn out really awesome. I knew having the Mark 45 would absolutely make the showcase video come together, so that's why I made him, so I could get him out of the way and focus on other minifigures I'll be working on, and not have to worry about making him later, because I knew I did want to make the Mark 45 eventually. So I figured if I have War Machine, might as well make him now, and that's what I did. And this is actually going to be my last MCU showcase, most likely before Ant-Man, so that's exciting. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so starting off with War Machine, of course, this minifigure, like all Iron Man suits, came with the same challenge of just figuring out what should be painted onto this suit, because actual Iron Man suits, of course, they have tons of different lines, tons of different details that just cannot be replicated onto a LEGO minifigure. So a lot of the painting time was selection and just figuring out what needs to be painted on to make sure this is as recognizable and as accurate as I can get it, and what should be cut out because it just may be unnecessary and just simply can't fit. So that's what that's usually a lot of the painting time and process of making Iron Man suits, is that very thing. But I do want to establish right now, because I think it's probably my most #1 asked question on my channel right now, Amazing Armory, their Bricklink store. That is where I get the Iron Man Mark 7 armor. They usually sell out within a matter of days when they do have it, and I know Alfred, I'm pretty sure he tries to make as many as he possibly can, it seems, because when he comes out with it, he usually has like 40 to 60 in that range, but he still does sell out fairly quickly because I guess of how many people are using this Iron Man armor now, because it is definitely, I have to say, the best Iron Man armor you can get in the LEGO community. So just want to establish that Amazing Armory's Bricklink store usually sells out. Keep an eye out for when he does restock, though. So yeah, now you just something else I do want to establish with War Machine as well is the gun. Where did the gun come from, and how the heck did I get it to look so freaking accurate to his actual gun in the film? And that's not actually LEGO. As a matter of fact, hopefully not too many of you guys will get pissed for this, but it actually came off of one of Hasbro's War Machine like mini action figures that they put out for Age of Ultron. And if you just next time you're in Target or Walmart, you will see like the $5 pack that this figure comes in. And given how small it is, I was like, oh my god, that gun is like perfectly to scale with a LEGO minifigure. I can use that on my War Machine. So I bought that pack, and here as you can see, I glued it onto the back of this suit, and I think it turned out great and was absolutely for the better of this minifigure. I mean, yes, it's not LEGO, yes, it's an action figure part, but man, does it look awesome. So that's why I decided to do that and boost the accuracy of the minifigure rather than use that same design that I used on my Iron Patriot like 2 years ago now for Iron Man 3. So now obviously, let me just say another thing. The entire minifigure, both of these well, not both of these minifigures, I'll talk about the Mark 45 separately, but War Machine is a fully painted minifigure, completely painted by me. There is no printing on War Machine except for the face, the Rhodey face that's underneath the helmet, which I'll show you in a second. Everything on here is painted by me. The ED right here, this is actually on the suit, it actually reads ED445, but I tried to paint that on and fit that in, but as you can see, I could only fit on the E and the D. I just put a line underneath because fitting on the 445 just did not work out, and so that's why that happened. And also I did paint on this symbol here, which turned out freaking awesome, way better than I thought it was going to, and that was very tedious, but I think it turned out fantastic. It is probably my favorite detail on this minifigure. And also the numbering here, 002, that was definitely a challenge to paint on as well, but I think that those little details, the little emblems and the numbering that I have on War Machine that I was able to cram onto this minifig turned out, I think they make the minifigure really come full circle. And he even has the star painted on there. That was pretty tedious as well. And then all the different gray lines that you see all over it, these tiny little pieces, like the plating on the sides of the legs, all the different lines. And of course it is wrap around the minifigures. The design does go around all 4 sides of the legs. Legs are posable. You guys, you get the idea. And then also I do want to make sure that you guys notice that the arc reactor is not actually how the arc reactor comes on the Amazing Armory torso piece. That is actually, I sculpted over that to make it more flat, because Rhodey doesn't really have a circular arc reactor on his Mark II armor, and so I decided that I was going to sculpt over it, make it, you know, perfectly smooth so I could paint my own, and that's what I did here. And I also do want to say that I was actually going to use a War Machine Mark I Iron Man armor piece from Amazing Armory. I even considered using the one from Breakthrough Army too, but I ended up landing right back on the Mark VII torso piece because a few fans pointed out that it just would look better and, you know, more accurate to his Mark II torso piece, because it's just so much different than his, you know, original War Machine suit from Iron Man 2, and I completely agreed and decided to scrap that entire concept and revert right back to the Mark VII torso armor. And, you know, using the Mark VII torso armor is always really interesting because this is supposed to be the armor from the first Avengers film at the end of the Avengers, you know, during the Battle of New York. So taking that armor and just repurposing it for so many different ones has proven to be so very much like it's a big challenge. It's been you know, using this torso armor piece ever since, you know, Iron Man 3 a couple of years ago. But anyway, the helmet, of course, is fully painted in its entirety, and you can see I've got the Rhodey head underneath there. Definitely one of the better heads that the LEGO Group has printed for the Marvel Cinematic Universe sets. I definitely think that looks just like Don Cheadle, so I absolutely had to use it on my minifigure. And then inside the helmet, of course, I've got the HUD, and the HUD is fully painted in, and I think it turned out, I think this new design is really awesome. I used it for my Mark 43, if you guys saw my Age of Ultron showcase, and I used it here, but in green this time, as accurate to his HUD in the film, and I think that it definitely really tops off the minifigure, having, you know, detail like the HUD and all the different emblems that you see on him. So aside from that, though, that is pretty much it for Rhodey. I think, you know, painting the lines on the face mask, and, you know, I did actually modify the eyes. The eyes are all fully painted as well. I should mention they aren't, you know, that's not how the eyes were on the actual face mask. Those are painted. I just want to put that out there as well. But yeah, so the entire minifigure fully painted definitely has to be one of my best Iron Man suits to date. I definitely think this turned out fantastic. And as I mentioned, the Mark 45 is in this showcase video just simply because I didn't want Rhodey to be alone, and I am still proud of this minifigure. Of course, I put my all into it like I always do, but I figured that, like I said at the start of this video, I have War Machine here that I'm almost done with. I might as well throw together the Mark 45 pretty quick so I could pair him with him, and that's what I did here, and that's why he's in this showcase video. So the Mark 45, believe it or not, one of the things I do want to talk about right off the bat is the fact that I actually put up a poll on Twitter as to what face mask I should use, because I was like, okay, this face mask is more accurate, the eyes are more accurate, but if people want me to use the thinner eyes because it might look, you know, more unique, you know, stand out amongst other suits, maybe I should put up a poll. So I did, and almost everybody decided, you know, voted in favor of this face mask, and I was like, oh, thank God I didn't paint the HUD into this one. So that was a bit of a close one. And so one of the number one things, of course, the AMA Mark 7 torso armor was used on him as well, fully painted by me. The entire figure is fully painted by me, except for the little lines that you see above the eyes, the little tiny lines you see beneath the eyes, and then also the printing that you see on the front of the legs here, excluding everything from these little points down here. So like here and here, all mine, but then the printing here is all Lego, and then like I said, I pointed out everything else on the face mask. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out because this is actually sort of like an upgraded minifigure in a lot of ways, even though the majority of it is like my own work. It's not exactly the same scenario as the Avengers Age of Ultron showcase, where, you know, sometimes more than half the minifigure was originally from the LEGO Group. So, you know, you guys get the idea. But this suit, one of the number one things I absolutely knew I was going to go for when I first got the Age of Ultron, the Iron Man vs. Ultron set for the Age of Ultron lineup, I was like, wow, it's really awesome how LEGO like incorporated these red highlights onto this suit. And then, so I figured maybe I'll do that with my own custom minifigure, you know, once I will have seen the movie. So once I saw the film and I saw just how red the suit really is, it's like I mean, the suit is really much more of a brighter red than most of Tony's suits. So I knew I was definitely going to be incorporating a lot of standard red highlights into this to sort of replicate that sort of effect, and that's what I did here. And I think that it definitely makes this suit stand out amongst other Iron Man suits I might have made in the past, because the red highlights, this suit this minifigure really wouldn't be anything without all the red highlighting I did, and of course all the outlining, you know, painting the center here. You can see I tried to make that as accurate as possible. I think it actually turned out pretty awesome, especially the center there where the, you know, the surrounding details around the arc reactor, and then the side of the legs are also as accurate as I could get them. As you can see, they turned out pretty nice as well. And when I'm painting near, the Lego group's printing, I always try to keep the lines as thin as possible, just to make sure that it blends and, really looks sort of, like make it look like one set of legs rather than like, just my painting and then the Lego group's printing. I try to make it look like, one universal pair of legs. And that's what I try to do, when I painted the sides of the legs and, the detail you see on the back with additional red highlights and all of that sort of stuff. There are even tiny little dots for ventilation you can see painted on the back there. Kind of difficult to see, but aside from that though, the arms are fully painted as well with as much detail as I could add. And another thing I do want to note on is the wrists. I actually painted a standard red color as well. And then if we go ahead and take the face mask off, you can see the HUD, and this is again the exact same HUD that you saw in Rhodey, and it's also the exact same HUD that I used in my Mark 43. And it's a really awesome design that I think I'm definitely going to be using for my Iron Man suits into the foreseeable future, because it definitely looks really awesome and really does top off my Iron Man minifigures. And you can see I did use the standard Tony Stark head, and I didn't use the one from the Iron Man 3 sets because I felt like during Age of Ultron he wasn't exactly smiling about anything, and he really usually wasn't frightened a lot in the movie. So I figured the standard aggressive Tony Stark face would work for my minifigure, and I did also paint his neck red as well. So aside from that though, that is pretty much it for the Mark 45 suit. I do want to point out, of course, the detail does go there. The detail that you see on the sides of the legs is always universal on my minifigures when it comes to wrapping around all four sides of each leg. So I just wanted to point that out. But aside from that though, that is pretty much it for these two Iron Man suits. My first spin-off showcase for my original Avengers Age of Ultron showcase that I did at the end of April, and I think these are definitely some of my best Iron Man suits, like I said. But without further ado, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. I am not Jarvis. I am. You're what? I am. No, but like, what should we call you? I just am! Alright guys, and there you go, the showcase video on the Mark 45 and War Machine Mark II from Avengers Age of Ultron. And if you enjoyed the showcase video or maybe found yourself inspired to make more Avengers Age of Ultron minifigures, if you haven't already, then be sure to let me know by dropping this video a like below and or your opinion on the minifigures down in the comments, guys, as I really do appreciate your support, especially on the minifigures that I make, and especially when it comes to Iron Man suits, given the detail and the time and effort that it does to take, that it takes to make each one of these minifigures. So yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, man. By the way, links to all three of those are always down in the description below. And there I've been posting, I always post all kinds of super cool previews of minifigures that I'm working on that I'm going to be showcasing very soon. I actually just finished up Ahsoka from Star Wars Rebels, and I actually wanted to have her showcased today, but that didn't pan out because I'm still waiting on the clear rod pieces for her lightsabers, and they didn't come in at, they didn't come in as quickly as I wanted them to. So unfortunately, I did not get that showcase video out today in time for the Rebels Season 2 premiere, which is actually today. So going to be watching that, and I cannot believe that Ahsoka and Captain Rex are finally back in Star Wars. I mean, yes, it's in Star Wars Rebels, but I mean, I guess we'll see how that plans out. But anyway, I also did post my first teaser of my Ant-Man custom minifigures that I'm going to be working on very heavily for the next 3 weeks, because I've got about a little under a month to finish all four of those minifigures. I'm going to be starting on Fantastic Four minifigures to finish up before Brick Fair, and I'm also working on a ton of stuff for Brick Fair as well. It's going to be a very busy month, all of which you can catch over on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, which is why I always recommend it, because what you see on my channel is always the finished product. So if you want to see previews of everything I'm doing way sooner than you will over here, that's why I always recommend it, man. But aside from that though, that is pretty much it for what hopefully won't be my last Avengers Age of Ultron showcase. I would say if I did make another, I would definitely want to make maybe Ultron Mark 1, maybe a Bruce Banner minifig. I don't know. There are definitely some options, a lot of characters that I did not make from Avengers Age of Ultron that I could. So we'll see about that. But I definitely know this will probably be my last MCU showcase until my Ant-Man showcase on July 16th, June 16th. That already passed. But yeah, guys, aside from that though, that's it, and I'll catch you later. All right. Bye. From Avengers Age, no. This showcase video, maybe you're a priest. He has threatened to destroy all the realms with the power he wields. Boom, are you looking for this? Video, a like below. Wait, how did you get the Mind Stone?